Tenerife Airport disaster. On March 27, 1977, at Los Rodeos Airport on the Spanish island of Tenerife, two Boeing 747s, Pan Am Flight 1736 and KLM Flight 4805, were preparing for departure when heavy fog reduced visibility across the runway. The KLM aircraft began its takeoff roll, while the Pan Am aircraft was still on the runway, attempting to reach an exit. The two aircraft collided at high speed. The KLM 747 became airborne for a moment before striking the Pan Am aircraft, destroying both planes. A total of 583 people died, making it the deadliest accident in aviation history involving two aircraft. The disaster led to major improvements in cockpit communication, standardized phraseology, and procedures for confirming takeoff clearance. Japan Airlines Flight 123. On August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123 crashed after suffering a catastrophic structural failure shortly after leaving Tokyo. The Boeing 747 had 524 people aboard and was flying toward Osaka when its rear pressure bulkhead failed. The failure caused extensive damage to the aircraft's tail section and severed important hydraulic systems. The pilots managed to keep the aircraft in the air for around half an hour, but without normal control of the elevators and rudder, their ability to steer was severely limited. The aircraft eventually struck Mount Takamagahara in Gunma Prefecture. Only 4 people survived, while 520 people died. It remains the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history. Investigators later connected the failure to an improper repair made years earlier after a previous tail strike. Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision. On November 12, 1996, the Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision happened over the village of Charkhi Dadri near New Delhi, India. A Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747 was climbing after departure, while an Ilyushin IL-76, operated by Kazakhstan Airlines, was descending toward Delhi. The two aircraft were flying through the same area at different altitudes when they collided in mid-air. The impact destroyed both aircraft and killed all 349 people aboard them. At the time, the accident became the world's deadliest mid-air collision. Investigators determined that the Kazakhstan Airlines aircraft had descended below its assigned altitude, while communication and language difficulties also played a role. The tragedy helped strengthen air traffic procedures in the region and accelerated the use of collision avoidance technology. Turkish Airlines Flight 981. On March 3, 1974, Turkish Airlines Flight 981 crashed near Emanoville, France, shortly after leaving Paris. The aircraft was a McDonnell Douglas DC-10 carrying 346 people. A cargo door at the rear of the aircraft opened during flight because of a design and locking problem. The sudden loss of cabin pressure caused the floor above the cargo compartment to collapse and damage important control cables. The pilots lost control of the aircraft, which descended rapidly into a forest north of Paris. Everyone aboard was killed. The accident exposed serious weaknesses in the DC-10's cargo door design and in the way warnings about the problem had been handled. It became one of the most important aviation disasters in the development of aircraft safety regulations. Air India Flight 182. On June 23, 1985, Air India Flight 182 was a Boeing 747 traveling from Montreal toward Delhi through London when it exploded over the Atlantic Ocean. The aircraft was carrying 329 people and there were no survivors. Investigators determined that a bomb had been placed inside luggage before the aircraft departed Canada. The explosion occurred off the coast of Ireland, sending the aircraft into the ocean. The disaster became the deadliest terrorist attack in aviation history until the September 11th attacks in 2001. It also exposed serious weaknesses in airport security and baggage screening at the time. The investigation and subsequent court proceedings lasted for many years, while the tragedy led to major changes in security procedures for checked baggage and passenger screening. Saudia Flight 163. On August 19, 1980, Saudia Flight 163 was a Lockheed L-10111 TriStar that caught fire shortly after departing Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The aircraft was carrying 301 people. A fire began in the cargo area, and the crew eventually returned to Riyadh and landed safely. The aircraft stopped on the runway, but the evacuation did not begin immediately. By the time rescuers opened the aircraft, the passengers and crew had already been overcome by smoke and heat. All 301 people aboard died. The accident was unusual because the aircraft successfully landed rather than crashing during the emergency. The investigation focused heavily on the fire, the crew's response, and the failure to evacuate quickly after landing. It became one of the deadliest aviation accidents involving a passenger aircraft that remained largely intact after landing. American Airlines Flight 191. On May 25, 1979, American Airlines Flight 191 crashed shortly after takeoff from Chicago O'Hare International Airport. The McDonnell Douglas DC-10 was carrying 271 people when its left engine and pylons separated from the wing during the initial climb. The separation damaged hydraulic systems and caused the left wing's leading-edge devices to retract. The aircraft began rolling sharply to the left and lost altitude before crashing into an open area near the airport. All 271 people aboard were killed, along with 2 people on the ground. The accident became the deadliest aviation disaster in the United States at the time. Investigators found that improper maintenance procedures had damaged the engine pylon attachment, contributing to the failure. The crash resulted in major changes to maintenance practices and inspection procedures for the DC-10. Lockerbie Bombing. On December 21, 1988, the Lockerbie bombing took place when Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over the town of Lockerbie, Scotland. The Boeing 747 was traveling from London to New York with 259 people aboard. A bomb hidden inside luggage detonated over Scotland, breaking the aircraft apart at high altitude. Debris fell across a large area of Lockerbie, destroying homes and killing 11 people on the ground. In total, 270 people died. The investigation became one of the largest and most complicated aviation criminal investigations ever conducted. Libya was later linked to the bombing, and a Libyan national, Abdelbasset al-Megrahi, was convicted in connection with the attack. The disaster led to stronger international security measures involving checked baggage, explosive detection, and aviation terrorism prevention. China Airlines Flight 611. On May 25, 2002, China Airlines Flight 611 broke apart over the Taiwan Strait. The Boeing 747 was flying from Taipei to Hong Kong with 225 people aboard when it suddenly disintegrated during cruise flight. Investigators found that the aircraft had suffered structural damage years earlier after a tail strike during a landing. The damaged section had been repaired improperly, allowing cracks to develop beneath the repair over time. Eventually, the weakened structure failed under normal flight conditions. The aircraft broke apart in the air and debris fell into the sea. All 225 people aboard were killed. The accident demonstrated how a seemingly minor structural incident could remain hidden for years before becoming a catastrophic failure. It also reinforced the importance of proper inspection and repair procedures throughout an aircraft's service life. Nigeria Airways Flight 2120. On July 11, 1991, Nigeria Airways Flight 2120 crashed near Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, shortly after takeoff. The Douglas DC-8 was carrying 261 people when problems with its tires developed during the takeoff roll. Several tires had been improperly inflated, causing them to overheat and fail. The resulting damage led to a fire in the landing gear area. The fire spread while the aircraft was climbing away from the airport and eventually damaged critical systems. The crew attempted to return to Jeddah, but the aircraft lost control before reaching the runway. All 261 people aboard died. The accident highlighted the importance of seemingly routine maintenance tasks, showing how something as ordinary as tire pressure could contribute to a chain of failures that ended in a catastrophic accident.